Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of Leadership for the Now. My name is Florin Lungu, and I'm so delighted to be with you today. And today, I'm joined by my teaching partner, Alena. Welcome, Alena.
Hi, Florin. Thank you so much. It's great to be here with you again today for the topic of self-leadership.
Absolutely.
Very interesting topic, and also many say that it's quite fluffy. So I really hope to create more clarity around self-leadership and to also give some practical tips from our shared experience as well. How do you feel
Absolutely.
about that?
Well, excited because I really believe self-leadership is one of the, as you say, it might be fluffy, but also it's a essential skill. It's an essential trait that we need to develop because everything else builds on it, if you like. So I'm
Mhm.
excited.
Okay, Florin, then let me start with the first question. Let's discuss what self-leadership actually is. What's your perspective on that? Please share.
Sure. So, in my opinion, in my view, self leadership is our ability to first understand ourselves, manage ourselves, and lead ourselves towards achieving personal or professional goals. That's like the shortest version that I get it.
Mhm.
That's it, right? So, being able to manage and lead ourselves towards achieving personal and professional goals. And the reason why I think it's important is because um, in in the Maxwell philosophy, John Maxwell wrote a book called 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and one of the first laws that he talks about is called that the law of the lead. The lead means that like when you put a lead on something, so the self leadership of the leader of any organization will act as a lead, right? So if I'm a middle manager and my leader is not developing and is not, elevating their leadership level, I'm going to hit that kind of glass ceiling or that lead. So in other words, what we could do as leaders in order for us to create the best environment for our team is to develop ourselves, and everything starts with self leadership.
Mhm.
What's
Thank you
your
so much for
perspective?
sharing that. When I think about self-leadership, I think about being intentional. And I found one definition that I feel in alignment with how I think or how I perceive what self leadership is. And this definition I found in the book Mastering Self Leadership by Christopher Neck and Charles Mans. So they define self leadership as the practice of intentionally influencing your thinking, feeling, and behaviors to achieve your goals and objectives. So this part with intentionality, being really mindful, aware of what is going on within you, and if everything you do, like your behaviors, your thoughts are in alignment. So this is something that makes this core concept for me. And also defining your zone of genius. What is your zone of genius? How you operate in that, and how you step into that every day. So that would be something that resonates with me in terms of self-leadership.
Absolutely. And I think you make a really good point there because everything starts with self-awareness. When you say, what's your point of genius? Like, how would someone know what their point of genius is if they are not self-aware, right? In order for us to improve any result in any area of our life, we first need to know where to improve and what that result is. And knowing our strengths, like how can we go and maybe pursue a career where we're not skilled for, where it's not in alignment with our strengths, right? We cannot become, let's say, the best version of ourselves in an area where we're not talented. Like, for example, me playing
Mm.
the piano. My parents created that environment for me. They bought a piano. I got piano lessons, but it was not my calling. It was not my strength, and also my fingers are not really kind of those fingers of a piano player. So I didn't have the, you see, the strengths or the talents to excel in that area, and being aware, okay, this was something I tried, but it's not for me, right? That also self leadership. It's okay to say, well, I tried this, is not for me. Let me try something else, which is fitting me better. So I think that part is really important that you mentioned there.
Actually, this example that you're giving now, Florin, it speaks a lot to me in terms of the motivation. So if we don't have motivation, it doesn't work. You mentioned that it should be, the direction where we are going, right? It should be like self-discipline in terms of self-leadership. But then motivation is like a glue. So if you don't have motivation, you might be consistent, go in one direction, but you will never feel fulfilled, or you will never feel that you're actually putting your full self into the game. So motivation is very important. If you had motivation to learn to play the piano, then it would definitely work, I'm sure.
Probably, yeah. And I didn't have, outside of my parents wanted me to play, because I don't know why.
It should
I
come
didn't.
from within.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. So why do you think self leadership is important?
Well, it is. We talked a lot about starting with self and how
Mhm.
important it is. And in terms of self-leadership, I think it's so important for us to show up for ourselves, like how we feel in our own skin, like first of all. And it defines lots of things, how happy we are with our life, with what we do, how strong our relationships that we create with other people. And it goes not only to the context of work, it goes to all the areas of our life, how we genuinely feel about ourselves, and
Right.
then how we show up for others. So this is how we live our life, how we lead ourselves. So that's why it's a key component, I think. So without self-leadership, it's very tricky. It's very difficult to move towards our goals and to create relationships, to do something impactful.
Absolutely. And if you
What is
think
your
about,
take on that?
yeah, yeah, because I think I will want to build on what you just shared and maybe add the, now let's think, because this show is mostly for leaders, right? So if we have any kind of influence in our workplace, right, people will watch us. In other words, they will look at what we do, and the saying, people do what people see, right? So if you are a leader and you try to lead your team in one direction, but you're not walking the talk, right? You're not doing what you say the team should do, then what kind of message does that send to your team? So, all of those aspects you share are important, and also we are role models for people in our life, for our children, right? For our family, and so when we are not leading our lives purposely, as you said, intentionally towards achieving our goals, personally and professionally, then what we do, we set a bad example for our families and for our teams. So I think for leaders, it's critically important for them to be able to actually lead themselves and manage themselves, properly, because they set the example for the team. If I say
Mm-hmm.
this, discipline is important, but I'm not disciplined. Let me just give an example. When I was in the engineering world, I had a team of engineers that kind of shared the space where we had half of the space was office space and desks, and the other half was a workshop. So it was just one door between these two spaces. But in the workshop, we had to wear security shoes. These were reinforced shoes in case something falls on your feet, then you're not hurt. And this was like just work protection. It was needed. But how could I have reinforced this rule for my team if I would not wear the shoes? It was very easy, and the situation was that the coffee machine was in the workshop. So for me to go from my desk to take a coffee, I needed to go to the workshop, and it would have been very easy to just follow this green line and not wear my shoes. But if I didn't wear my shoes, I could not then ask my team to wear my shoes, because I say, well, you're not wearing your shoes. Why should I wear my security shoes? So I learned that way, that I set the example, and the only way for me is to have higher expectation of my team is for me first to lead myself up to those expectations.
Mm. It's a very good example. Thank you for bringing it in. And actually, I want to challenge one perception here that I often see when I often meet when I talk to people about self-leadership, that sometimes we associate the self-leadership with the role of a manager. Yes, we talk about leaders, right? But
Yes.
then in some cultures, systems, work cultures, we associate leader means position like management, CEO, executive, and so on. But actually, when we talk about self-leadership, and the beauty of it is that it's about everyone. It's about everyone at workplace, and it's not about shifting responsibility purely on leaders. Your example shows us how important it is to actually behave in alignment with the values that you're trying to promote, right? But then also, I think it is important to give autonomy and responsibility to other people to be their best selves. And I have also one great example of that. One company I collaborated with, they had new hires, and they also had lots of fluidity. It was reorganization in the company, so many people moved to different teams, so they built different structures, systems within the company. And then it happened so that one person was leaving, and there were two new hires who was supposed to get on board. So the one person who was leaving initiated mentorship in the team and said, you know, I'm leaving, I have 2 weeks, but I'm ready to devote these 2 weeks to mentor you, to really get you on board. He wasn't assigned to do that by a manager. It was purely his initiative. And I think that it shows us that all of us have it in terms of self-leadership, how we lead ourselves, and also how we are able to encourage others to step up. It also promotes a healthy culture within a team. So imagine those two new hires end up in a similar situation. Then they will also have a great example of behavior to apply towards other people.
And to model, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So self leadership is not only about leaders or people in
Yeah,
position. It's
it's
about
not about the
everyone.
role.
Yeah, and also it's about, like you mentioned in the beginning, it's about being a good citizen, being a good role model in your community, right? The way you treat the environment, the way you treat, waste management, or whatever it's required of us, right? Like individuals. And if you think about I think in both of our definitions of self leadership the was included the personal goals, right? The personal and professional goals. So if you think about someone being able to pursue their personal goals, right? They're an example, right? They're an example for their peers, their friends, their circle of influence. So it, to your point, is not about the position; it's about every single individual, and it's about ourselves. So, yeah, I think this is good. So, shall we discuss a little bit about some of the challenges that come with self leadership? Like what stops people from leading themselves better, if I can put it in that way?
Oh, yeah, this is a very interesting question. Would you mind sharing what challenges you see in your practice, because you coach leaders
Yeah.
and on self-leadership as well, right? So what are those challenges that you face in your practice?
Absolutely. So first thing that I see people struggle with when it comes to self leadership, it's is the lack of awareness, or in other words,
Mm,
they don't see themselves realistically, and with that, what comes is that they don't know exactly where should they improve. Like when it comes to self leadership, in order for us to, so if we go back to kind of the definition, is to lead and manage ourselves in order to achieve our personal and professional goals. But if we're not, for example, aware how we come across to our team, if we're not aware that the way we communicate maybe it's not the best way, or the most effective way for us to communicate, or if we're not aware that the way I assign tasks or delegate or lead, like I used to um, I have a background where I came from a post-communist environment where people told you what to do. I was told
Mm-hmm.
what to do. My mom worked in a very tough environment, and then she kind of brought that environment home, and I was told what to do. And then that was what I started to do with my team. So I had blind spots that I couldn't see, and I thought that my way it's a good way. So if I actually continue with those blind spots, then I would not be able to, become my best version, right? Because I I needed something or someone to help me there, right? So this is kind of the first challenge with self leadership is knowing where do you need to improve in order to become better. And
Mm-hmm.
then the second one is to being disciplined and putting the priorities, like if I need to improve in the area of my communication, then okay, let me be disciplined into creating a practice of maybe studying material or learning or watching videos or a podcast, that I do that consistently. And consistently meaning like, okay, maybe a couple of hours a week or something like that, but do it for a long period of time until you really improve in that, because we want quick fixes. So quick fixes do not come without discipline, right? So we know that we need to be disciplined to improve in those areas. And then I think that the third kind of challenge is to have a what I call a support network. So in other words, when I started to see those blind spots, when I had someone in my company mentoring me, and then when I started to work with a coach, and then assessments, right? We work with assessments. So anything that helps you, right? First of all, to get awareness of where do you need to improve, and then having people that can support you, even maybe your colleagues, your spouse, someone that could help you see yourself realistically, right? And then be there with you and support you, and during that journey. I think these three things are the most common thing that people deal with when it comes to self leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very valuable. And in terms of consistency, it resonates with me as well. And again, what you share brings me back to the motivation that there should be motivation. There should be this. What I would add to this list is the inner drive, like knowing exactly what motivates you, not the external factors, but your intrinsic motivation. And for this, there should be a good combination of purpose, the sense of purpose, and the mastery when there is this developmental scale that you mentioned, that you know what you need to improve. And there should be autonomy, a sense of ownership, that you actually own it. This is you, and this is what you can do. So the inner drive and being aware of what is it for you, what's your intrinsic motivation, and also from the side of the leaders or supporters, to be able to really understand that what actually drives my people, what drives people in a team. And there might be really different factors. So it's good to have these conversations as well, to make people think about what drives them, and that they become more aware of that as well. um, so yeah, I think this is also some of the challenges that I noticed, that there's no this alignment because people are disconnected from their intrinsic motivation. They are driven by some external factors, maybe career goals or like social environment, which is also important, but they miss this internal point.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you, because if you don't have a clear purpose of why are you doing this, right? When the going is going to be tough, when maybe it's you had a long night, and then Sunday morning was your study time, right? And then you wanted to develop your communication skills on Sundays. It's very easy to say, oh, I'm going to do that tomorrow, or I'm going to do it later, right? But if you have that inner drive, inner motivation, inner purpose, then that's something that you have to go back to, reconnect with, and say, oh, okay, that thing is more important than me spending this morning sleeping or scrolling social media, whatever you want to do. So I think that's very important that you brought that in. For me, it was more like it's given that you have to have that purpose, because otherwise you don't because the question, like, and I had this actually, a few people I used to um, greet people on their birthday, saying, happy birthday, Alena, for example, with a message on LinkedIn, happy birthday, Alena, become your best version. And a few people asked me, like, why? Why should I become my best version? And I was really surprised. I mean, come on. I mean, how is that a question? And I didn't even know what to say, right? And because for me it was like isn't it that everyone wants to become their best version of themselves, that they want to be the best that they could be, like they are on this planet for a limited time, like why waste their time? It seemed okay, it's not obvious for everyone. So I'm glad that you mentioned purpose.
It's interesting because I think that the reason might be, or some of the things that people share with me, that, oh, all this personal development and self-leadership is about fixing. So they take it very like with defense, that what do you mean? Am I broken? Do you need to fix me? Do I need to fix myself? And I think that what's important here is to rework our mentality around self-leadership and personal development, personal growth. It's not about fixing. It's about embracing who you are. It's about learning more about yourself, understanding yourself, and then being the best version of yourself in different situations, like bringing the best part of you, that part that actually serves the situation better, that part that can create better interaction with others, or find the best possible solution in a conflict or in a difficult situation. So it's about navigation. It's about setting up your GPS the way that it leads you in the direction where you want to go, not where life brings you. You end up somewhere in some point anyways, but if you're more intentional, then, and you're motivated, then you will come there where you really want to be, where you need to be.
Absolutely, yeah. And
So
yeah,
not fixing, but embracing. So that would be the key message here.
yeah, absolutely. And I think people take it a little bit defensively sometimes. Someone said, "Well, I think I'm a decent version of myself." And I say, "Okay. Well, okay, if you're happy with that, then you don't have to become a best version." So, we discuss about what self-leadership is, we discuss about some of the challenges. What would be some of the benefits that come with developing us as leaders, like developing, like, I don't even know how to put it, better leading ourselves? What would be some benefits if we are able to better lead ourselves?
I would say generally, like, it's happier life. The quality of our life is in direct proportion with the quality of our relationships. So creating better relationships with others, how can we do that? When we know ourselves, when we can relate to other people better, when we understand others better. And it sounds quite simple actually, and in practice it's not that easy to do. It requires some work, and the benefits are that you're growing and developing with you're connected to your mission and purpose. I always ask people, what is your mission? What is your purpose? What's the purpose of your life? And for some, it might be very difficult to answer those questions directly. And it's, the whole Maslow pyramid
Yeah,
comes here. So it depends on which level we are and the thoughts we think, and how we plan for the things that we want to bring to our life. If we don't feel safe, if we feel threatened, then we don't think about self-actualization. We think about basic needs. Right? So it's important to realize which level you are on, what's important for you, what's the next step, and how you can create this vision to pull yourself up, to move yourself forward. And for this, you need self-leadership, motivation, self-discipline, direction as well, and self-awareness.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
what is your secret ingredient for that?
No, I
What's
think
the
no, I think you put it really really well when it comes to living a happier life. And like in the end, that's probably the result that you're gonna get if you lead yourself better. If you look for more, let's say, work related, let's say, benefits, I found that people that are better at leading themselves, they are more adaptable. So there will not be one of
Mm,
these things that will break you. You're able to, because you know your strengths, you can pivot and you can use your strength somewhere else. So like you're more adaptable. You're definitely going to be more productive because you know how to use your strengths. So and definitely, if you combine these two, then being happier, I think you're going to achieve your goals easier and faster,
mhm,
which is what everyone wants, right? So I think these will be some of the benefits that just very basic, but I think essential, and that come with developing ourselves, right? And then also personal growth, like you're gonna grow in this process of understanding yourself and better managing yourself and better leading yourself. It comes as a byproduct, personal growth. This is actually the journey we are on. Like we call it self leadership,
mm.
but I think it's more about growing yourself as a person, not necessarily the role you're doing at a company or in an organization.
Yeah, I used to say the only competition that we have is ourselves, like comparing you today with you yesterday. So this is how did you grow? How did you develop? What did you learn? These
Absolutely,
kind of things. So
absolutely,
yeah, the question is, from each failure, from each mistake, how did you grow? And this is what you are talking about personal development, about growth. It's a lot about resilience, the
absolutely.
ability to bounce back when we face challenges or difficult situations. So it's a part of self-leadership as well.
Yeah, and a great example of that, it's a story that I read, recently about a master chef um, com- competitor in the United States. So I think this lady is famous. Her name is Christine Ha, and
Yeah, I know.
yeah, right. So, but
I
maybe
watched
our
the show.
yeah, maybe our viewers do not know, but she's blind, right? So she's
Yes,
blind, and she won the I think 2012 U.S. Master Chef competition, right? By being
yes,
blind.
yes,
And her story, it's a story of self-leadership, because when she started to lose her sight, then she started to develop other areas like the smell, and creating system, organizing her kitchen, so she knows exactly where the tools are, and she's able to taste the ingredients. And like think about how difficult it is to cook. Like, I don't know how good you are at cooking. I like cooking, but how difficult it is to cook well, and to cook to that level with all your senses, and then remove one, like the sight. I mean, this is a story of self leadership, where she was able to adapt, to grow from that challenge, to turn that challenge around, and then achieve this success in being the master chef of in United States 2012. So I think stories like this should inspire us to want to become
mm.
better leaders ourselves, or become better at leading ourselves.
Yeah, and I think it also inspirational from the point that very often we limit ourselves in our heads about our capabilities, about what is possible for us. And when you read stories like that, you actually understand that we only set limits for ourselves. If we take these limits away, what is actually possible? What becomes possible for us? This is also a very good question to ask ourselves. And I think generally, like when we talk about some practical aspects of that, because I really want to enter that area, like what can we do to become better at leading ourselves? And from my side, I would say like the first very important thing for me is when I wake up in the morning to check in with myself, how I feel, what I am excited about. As I really like Sri Kumar Rao, and his talks about happiness and about human nature. And he says that if you wake up and you don't have anything to look forward to, and just being genuinely happy, then you are dying. So just check in with yourself and connecting to what's exciting about the day. What are you looking forward to? And how can you bring more of that feeling into everything you do? It all projects into how you talk to people, how you show up. So this is also a part of you, the energy that you contribute with to any social setup. So that would be the first thing from my side to check in on the path of self-leadership. So
Yeah.
I wonder, what would you advise from the practical point of view, Florin? So how can we make it more, down to the earth for people
Yeah,
to
I
be
love
able
your
to practice
example.
that?
Yes, I love an example. And the question that I ask people is, what makes you jump out of the bed in the morning?
Mm.
Right? Are you jumping out of the bed, or are you crawling right down from the bed? Because that sets the stage, as you say, for the day. Um, if we go to more practical things, I think if we think about the some of the challenges that we discuss and some of the benefits we discuss, I think it starts with self-awareness. Like if we give, like someone says, okay, now you convince me, Alena and Florin, I want to improve myself. Where should I start? I'll say self-awareness. And self-awareness means could be taking assessments, could maybe have a 360-degree feedback from your team, getting feedback from people that you trust, working with someone like maybe a coach or a mentor, someone that could help you see your areas that need to be improved if you want to become the best version of yourself. I think it starts with self-awareness, and then it builds
Mhm.
with the self-discipline, right? And self-discipline, I think there is a challenge because we live our lives habitually. We do things that we are used to do. And in order for us to ingrain a new habit, for example, to start learning about a topic that we have not learned about in the past, that's a new habit. So uh, the challenge that I found is that we usually say, okay, I'm going to block 2 hours of my day to work on this. And we know that you don't have 2 hours for that, because if you had 2 hours, then it means that you just wasted 2 hours yesterday, and that will work for a few days, and then we stop. So then the discipline is not built. What I found is that we should start with the smallest unit that we're able to actually do it consistently. So if it's 5 minutes, then start with 5 minutes daily, and then add maybe 5 more minutes in 3 weeks time, and go to 15 minutes in 1 month. And I think that's whatever that is that you want to improve, then start small and build that discipline, because that will be one of the challenges, that people start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, and they don't
Mm.
see any meaningful results, and they say, oh, this is not for me, this is not going to work.
Mm.
And
It should be connected to the purpose then, to make it. We might have discipline, and discipline which is built on will. I don't think it will last for a long time, because we need to have this intrinsic motivation and drive to actually do things. For some, it might work with visualizing the end result or the picture that I
sure.
want to create. So there should be something that moves you forward, something that you really look forward to creating, and each step, like small step, is like a contribution to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have, if what we're sharing right now, it's difficult for you, or you feel it is not coming easy, then uh, the other thing that we advise is to have a support network. So reach out to any of us. We'll be more than happy to help you also with assessments, and be able to help you to see the areas that you want to improve in. And I think the biggest thing that I have found when I worked with a coach myself and a mentor is the accountability piece. Because if I promise you, Alena, that next week I'm going to tell you and share with you what I learned this week about a topic that we both agree I want to work on, then I'm more likely to be accountable to you because I promise you than to myself. It's much harder for me to say, oh, I'm going to do this some other time, because I'm going to see Alena and I have to have an explanation and I don't want to find an excuse, right? So for me, it works. For me, external accountability, it's a driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I promise to you, and also this is part of awareness, knowing that you you cannot trust yourself to hold yourself accountable, then, and I know that, that's why I promise things and I make them publicly. I'm going to do that. I'm going to publish a newsletter every single week. Then I created an expectation that I want to live up to. And this is a way that
Mm-hmm.
works for me, might not work for you. But it's, again, yet another example that could help you to start on this personal development and self-leadership journey.
It's a powerful message to wrap up today's conversation. I think just learning about yourself, learning what works best for you, in terms of drive, in terms of accountability, in terms of alignment between your thoughts, actions, and behavior, and using support that you have here, support that we can provide, and also support that there are so many tools, so many wonderful people who provide great coaching and who can support and help us in this journey of self-leadership, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you put it perfectly. I'm not gonna add any word to that because you put it just perfectly. I think it's a wrap. We already are over time of our kind of scheduled time, but I think it was a valuable conversation. I hope our viewers find it the same way. And again, if you were not able to join the entire show, just put summary in the comments. We're gonna share the show summary with you, and we look forward to see you on the next episode.
Thank you and have a beautiful day. Bye bye.
Right then. Bye bye. Bye.